time for the week that was. Let's take a look at the top stories that made headlines around the globe this week. United States President Donald Trump says there could be more strikes by the United States in Nigeria if there's no let-up in genocide against Christians in the country. The Nigerian government has previously denied that Christians are subjected to systemic persecution in the country. Trump's comments in an interview with the New York Times were published on the newspaper's website on Thursday. Well, he made the remarks when he was asked about Washington's Christmas Day military strike here in Nigeria. The U.S. military said at the time that it carried out a strike against the Islamic State militants in northwest Nigeria at the request of the Nigerian government, with Nigeria saying that the strike was a joint operation targeting terrorists and had nothing to do with a particular region. When asked about his own Africa advisor, having said that Islamic State and Boko Haram militants were killing more Christians, more Muslims than Christians, Trump responded that I think that Muslims are being killed also in Nigeria, but it's mostly Christians. Well, you see that interview with the New York Times, Donald Trump saying that he will deliver more strikes and will intervene repeatedly if he perceives more threats, existential threats to Christians in Nigeria. The government is maintaining that, this was a joint operation. We talked about this. We have been talking about this for a while. The degree to which jointness that is, so to speak, is largely on the table. It's a large question. Yeah. And, it's showing that it's a big shift in the U.S.-Nigeria policy, foreign relations policy, moving from counterterrorism partnership to some kind of protective intervention, which, at the heart of it, one could say thank you for being concerned about our citizens, but we need to have a more joint and seamless approach. It needs to be less threatening and more conciliatory. And, it's only the 10th day in the new year. Yeah. And look at what we're discussing already.
I mean, it looks to me like that's Trump's New Year message to Nigerians. He didn't quite say that I'm coming back, to strike more. Is saying that if certain things are not done, particularly in protecting Christians, that there will be more strikes. His specific quote in that interview with New York Times, when he was asked that question, was that his response, I would love to make it a one-time strike, but if they continue to kill Christians, it will be a many-time strike. Wow. I mean, this is typical Trump.
Yeah, completely.
I mean, if what happened the other time could happen on a Christmas day, who says that on the 8th or 9th day of, in the new year, that all he will say to Nigerians basically is to say that, stop killing Christians, otherwise I'll be back. But then there are questions that people need to ask. The strike of on Christmas Day, which of course, like you pointed out, both governments are saying that, we did it jointly.
Joint operation.
Some were saying that America invited Nigerian government and that we came to strike, ISIS. There were many questions that people have raised. Why Sokoto first? At what point did the Nigerian government, if it is true that the invitation went from Nigerian government to the American government, at what point did they realize that ISIS had a camp in Nigeria, specifically in Sokoto? And then what really has become of that strike? What far-reaching effect did it have? How many terrorists, ISIS members, did you take out? How successful was it? 2-3 weeks after, frankly speaking, nobody has spoken in detail. Yeah. To what happened. So if Trump is now saying that, except they stop killing Christians, I might be back, that doesn't reassure anybody because he didn't quite give an account of the success or otherwise of what he did on Christmas Day. I know Nigerian leader too. They've just basically said, it was Sokoto because ISIS can. I get the point that, this can be security issues. But we saw what happened in Venezuela and we saw what everybody is saying about the fact that 80 people went, with that thing, were killed, in that raid on Maduro, allegedly, and that 32 of them were Cubans. So how many people did we take out? Were they Nigerians? Were they people from the Sahel region? Who were they? That kind of a thing.
Questions.
What was the impact, did that stop those in Trump's reckoning that were killing Christians? And at what point will he realize that, oh, truly, the Nigerian government has woken up and that they are working in partnership with the American government? But, you know, it's not an easy thing for most of our guys in government, particularly those who are speaking on behalf of the government. Because the BBC account of what happened over this Trump interview, a certain spokesperson to the foreign minister basically, you know, when he was asked, what do you think about what Trump said? Basically said, oh, we will continue to work with partners, including, what
America.
Is
he expected to say? What really can
and
he
it
say?
will be on the basis of mutual respect, sovereignty, international law.
What can he say?
All right, we'll see how that goes.
We
but
will.
of course, let people stop dying. Let's deal decisively with the terrorists that are causing all this. We move on. Closer to home and already unraveling at pace, political uncertainty deepened in Rivers State on Thursday as state lawmakers initiated moves to impeach Governor Siminalayi Fubara. The impeachment plans were initially expected to be tabled before the Assembly next Monday. However, in an unexpected turn, lawmakers loyal to former governor and minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, reportedly moved the timetable forward by commencing impeachment proceedings immediately, a development which caught the executive arm unprepared, apparently. In a related development, Minister of Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, had on Monday warned National Secretary of All Progressives Congress, Senator Ajibola Bashiru, to stay out of Rivers State politics, saying the state is a no-go area for political interference. Wike's comments came in the wake of Senator Bashiru's reaction to Victor Giadom, an APC chieftain who had earlier referred to Fubara as so-called governor. Speaking during his thank you visit to Igbo local government area, Wike said that the Rivers' support for President Bola Tinubu should not be taken for granted, warning that anyone who meddles in the state's affairs should be ready to face the consequences.
Let me warn those who come to Rivers State because you have heard about 600 billion. You come there, you collect, and you open your mouth, you talk anyhow. I want to say it. You know, when you are doing something for the interest of everybody, some people will come out to make sure those things don't work. I say it here, Victor, I want to say it here. Take this message. Tell your national secretary, leave Rivers State alone. Leave Rivers State alone. Go and ask those who have tried it before. Go and ask those who have tried it before. Don't take our support from Mr. President for granted. You have to be careful the statement you make. You have to be careful. Today, you are enjoying in Osun. You don't know those who did the work. You open your mouth to talk about Rivers State. Anything you see, take it. Anything you see, what? Agreement is agreement.
All right, the rivers of trouble is not drying up anytime.
Anything you see, take it.
Anytime. I mean, yet another content from Minister Wike. You know, he loves to dish out, you know, content, you know, and many people lap it up. Those who like him, those who loathe him, you know, just want to see, you know, what else, you know, is he up to. There are two key issues here for me. Former Governor Wike, Minister of FCT, you know, threatening the gentleman, Dr. Ajibola Bashiru, the National Secretary of the APC, a party that Wike is not a member of.
So that is the kicker right there.
Absolutely.
That is the kicker.
I don't get the point, When you talk too much, of course you will misfire. And this is a spectacular misfiring, in my opinion, from Minister Nyesom Wike. If Ajibola Bashiru has volunteered an opinion on a governor who is now a member of his party, is within his right, to say so, given, of course, that this gentleman was the spokesperson of the Nigerian Senate at the time. And he has every right, to comment about his party. As a general secretary of his party, he has every authority, to say that. And for the minister to now go and be threatening that anything you see, take it, what specifically does that mean? I love the response from Dr. Bashiru about the fact that there are certain things that he will have to look at, critically and, from legal perspective, which you will have to take up. Because when you say things like anything you see, take it. What if something happens to Ajibola Bashiru tomorrow, for example? Should we begin to worry that where did this come from? Did it come from Rivers State or from Abuja? Right. And this idea that you must always have the last say on any matter of Rivers State is, quite frankly, sickening. Rivers State does not belong to one person. It does not even belong to the governor at any particular time. And therefore, the idea that the governor is just my boy and it will happen whichever way I want it, maybe we will see how this pans out, but this is not the sort of a thing that we want to be hearing. So it's not surprising at the end of the day that after making all those threats and saying, leave Rivers State because it is a no-go area. Of course, the shot that he now had to fire, as people have said, is to use the State House of Assembly, which is very much within his grasp, to threaten the governor. I
was going to say that anyone who's been paying attention to this Shakespearean tale that is Nyesom Wike, part of the APC, part of the PDP, we knew it was going to come to a head eventually. Yep. We saw the tea leaves and the defections. Now we have seen more prominent people speaking out against his behavior that seems to have been swept under the rug for 2 years plus. And of course, you do talk about the fact that he switched to this impeachment discussion once again. It seems to be the most visceral weapon in his arsenal.
Absolutely.
And he whips it out whenever necessary. And, we all thought that there was going to be peace eventually. Fubara has decamped to the APC. Yeah. We thought that
the president intervened.
The president would.
There were meetings.
There's been so many things that have been done, and even this impeachment. How will it really hold up? Can you really some of the charges that are being leveled against the governor seem a little watery at best? There needs to be peace in Rivers State. It needs to happen. There needs to be grown-ups in the room having important discussions. And after a 6-month state of emergency, it's kind of disappointing that this would happen again.
We're back
because what's the way forward? Will there be another 6-month emergency? Will someone have to step in? Why does Rivers State always have to be the one that is being babysat by
if it doesn't degenerate into violence and things like that.
Yes,
and given the fact that Fubara is no longer a PDP member, is now an APC member, is a member of the party of the president.
Yeah.
All the while that the president was intervening because Rivers State is just, one of the key states in Nigeria. But then the president could say, this is one of my governors.
Yeah.
And therefore, and then I'm also dealing with a member of another party that I appointed as a minister. So when people say that, maybe the president should just let them, have a go at it and see what happens. I think the president, of course, should intervene. Fubara is not a member of his party. And like I said earlier, one man does not own the world. One man does not own
And one man who is supposed to be presiding over Abuja.
I hope he has returned to work, return to base and go and deal with the issues. If you want politics, resign, like Ajibola Bashiru said, honorably, and go and deal with Rivers State politics. Yeah. But then you'll be dealing as an opposition because the sitting governor is a member of the APC. And then talking about the impeachment, how will it pan out? The impeachment proceedings do not start and end with the House of Assembly. You know, the courts, the justice, you know, will have to be involved, and then we will see what happens. You are also bringing the deputy governor into it. What offense has she committed? You know, for example. So this is all politics, and like you said, this is a Shakespearean tale, and I'm wondering how will Shakespeare have captured what is happening in Rivers State. Maybe Shakespeare would have said rivers of trouble. A theater of the absurd. You know, maybe that's what we will have heard from.
Rivers of trouble, that's a good one.
All right, let's move on to matters of the economy. Nigeria's economy may be showing signs of stabilizing, but a new outlook warns that daily life could become even tougher for millions of citizens in 2026. A report by PwC Nigeria indicates that the poverty rate could climb to 62%. Meaning about 141 million people may be living below the poverty line, driven by weak income, growth, insecurity, and mounting fiscal pressures. While inflation is easing and foreign reserves are improving, the report cautions that without deep structural reforms, macro stability may not translate into better living standards for most Nigerians. Harris correspondent Frank Omalepe reports.
Nigeria's economic outlook may be improving on paper, but the reality for millions of citizens is expected to worsen over the next year. A new report by PwC warns that by 2026, nearly two-thirds of Nigerians, about 141 million people, could be living in poverty. The projection is linked to ongoing economic reforms, policy gaps, global shocks, and limited income growth. The report also highlights growing concern over Nigeria's fiscal position. The proposed 2026 federal budget allocates 58.18 trillion naira in spending against projected revenues of 34.33 trillion naira, leaving a deficit of 23.85 trillion naira. That's about 4.28% of GDP. Analysts warn this could further strain funding for infrastructure, education, healthcare, and social protection. With oil prices expected to soften toward $55 per barrel, government earnings and foreign exchange inflows may weaken further, while geopolitical tensions and global volatility continue to threaten Nigeria's fiscal buffers in 2026. Security risks also loom large, with conflict-related fatalities expected to rise in 2026 due to insurgency, banditry, and kidnappings, alongside instability across West Africa. Unemployment, the rate is projected to climb to 5.3%, but analysts note that the real challenge remains job quality, with more than 70% of Nigerians working in the informal sector, where wages are low and productivity is weak.
For this nobody will help you if you don't get handwork.
For poor households, food remains the biggest pressure point. The poorest Nigerians spend nearly 70% of their income on food, meaning even small price increases push families deeper into poverty. While current reforms may lay the groundwork for long-term stability, experts stress the urgent need to ensure the growth translates into higher incomes, better quality jobs, and real relief for the most vulnerable. Frank Omalape, Arise News.
All right. I believe that any report from an organization like the PwC, you know, which is well respected globally, should be taken seriously. And this is a message to the Nigerian government, to the authorities concerned, you know, the Minister of Finance and the coordinating Minister of the Economy, if he's still coordinating the economy, you know, the CBN governor, budget and planning. This is stark reality. Undeniable improvements on paper, but then to the two-thirds of Nigerians, PwC's report is saying that these are people who do not feel, you know, the undeniable progress that Nigeria seems to be recording. They do not feel it in their pocket. And of course, you can't quarrel with that. And nobody should see such a report and such a reminder that things are hard as demarketing, you know, Nigeria. If I hate to use, you know, that sort, you know, the expression of, when Nigeria happens to you, Nigeria, the connotative negativity of it, I hate it. But then you can see from this report that if we're not careful, more than 141 million Nigerians may begin to think that, hey, Nigeria has happened to them, using that word rather loosely. And how will you not accept that reality? Because yes, the areas where we are claiming successes, they may be there. We might have blocked certain holes. We might have ensured that the exchange rate, is stable. But then those who are feeling it are less than, 1/4, of the population. And therefore, if all we are talking about is that at 70,000 naira for federal workers, 85 at best, for a few states for minimum wage, at a time that they know what they are now paying in terms of, cost of living, fuel, electricity, etc. It's a tough game.
It's a very tough game
for many people, and we should do more than just rhetorics to say that things are improving.
We should, and the report was saying, some of the poorest spend about 70% of their income on food. That is a staggering statistic, and it's hard to discuss the realities on ground in the country because it seems like it's always something depressing, or because there is progress that is being made. There is hard work that is being done.
Absolutely.
But it's like the amount of work that needs to be done is Herculean. The issues on ground that were met were so bad in the beginning that even trying to chip away at solutions, we still come away with reports and statistics like this. But yes, despite the GDP growth of 4.3%, that looks good on paper, people aren't feeling it on their kitchen counters, at their homes. It's hard to explain to individuals who aren't economically inclined exactly what is going on and why they aren't feeling the pressure released from them. Yeah. But with things going the way that they are, we hope that there's more attention to the policies that would help alleviate some of this. And of course, they ask for patience, time. There's nothing we can do. We can just wait and see how it goes. But this is a very dire statistic that 62% of us, of Nigerians, could fall below the poverty level. This is not the kind of news we need right now, but these are the realities on ground, and we have to deal with reality on reality's terms so that we can start to find solutions.
And what that reality means is that if you put at any point in time 3 Nigerians on the table, 2 of them will tell you that they are struggling. And it's stark reality. Yesterday, Friday, I was at a conference of the January 9th Collective, J9C, we call it. Dr. Paul Alaje delivered a fantastic, paper. Dr. Muda Yusuf, people from KPMG, a number of, well-meaning Nigerians who are versed in matters of economy and tax. Yes, tax was the issue, but of course, the matters of economy, came on. And this is the sort of a thing that everybody was talking about. And therefore, that also explains the struggle that many Nigerians are having with the new tax reforms, because when you are struggling at a time, you're like, I'm expecting the government to say that this is what I'm doing to assist you, to help you, etc. But then tax. People are a little bit weary, and many of them are quite jittery.
But we'll be discussing that and much more as the show progresses. And that's all that on the week that was.